Dear students, in this series of lectures, we are going to deal with two important areas like Dr. Ambedkar's views on religion and women development. Though there are separate lectures on social and political ideas of Ambedkar, this chapter is more important to discuss much of these two areas. Religion. Ambedkar was a Hindu for most of his life. In his final years, he converted to Buddhism. Throughout his life, Ambedkar was a staunch supporter of secularism. One instance that substantiates this in his support was for Uniform Civil Code. During the Constituent Assembly debates, he famously stated, "I personally do not understand why religion should be given this vast, expansive jurisdiction so as to cover the whole of life and to prevent legislature from encroaching upon that field." After all, what are we having liberty for? We are having this liberty in order to reform our social system, which is so full of inequalities, discriminations and other things which conflict with our fundamental rights. Ambedkar was not an atheist, though his ideas were influenced by Western values. He had strong faith in religion since it was the life force, the sole force that gave everyone strength and sustenance, that inspired and encouraged everyone. Being the best friend, philosopher and guide to everyone unless one denounced, discarded and discredited it, it was universal in nature since it was applicable to all countries, all people, all races and all times. A faithful servant but a bad master, it worked and wonders when applied with care and caution. Its proper introspection would be highly beneficial to the society, but its improper analysis would destroy the mankind, annihilate the civilization and culture. Maximum blood had been shed in its name and found to be one of the most severe and destructive forces in the society. Instead of fomenting communal conflagration, it must establish peace and ensure security to one and all. You should not encourage exploitation or oppression or suppression. The characteristics of religion to Ambedkar were as follows: the governing principles of every society, the rational in approach, ensuring liberty, freedom and rights to one and all, and not to sanctify poverty. Ambedkar was so much fed up and disgusted with the Hinduism that we never considered it as a religion because it did not possess the aforesaid characteristics. Arguing that it should change from a religion of rules to a religion of principles, he said that religion should have one textbook. Its priests should not hereditary but appointed by the government, and later decide their number, supervise their activating and prescribe standards for them. Ambedkar wanted that Hinduism should undergo a drastic change for its sophistication, acceptance and access. The functions assigned to untouchables and their no entry into public places like hotels, tanks, schools, etc. made him very unhappy. He therefore strongly criticized the Brahmins for not allowing them to read scriptures and text of the religion or learn Sanskrit. This would have certainly enabled them to know many things about Hinduism. The Sudras and untouchables would have been severely punished had they tried to read them. Except the Brahmins, others were not allowed to utter mantras, perform rituals like initiation, Gayatri, daily sacrifices, etc. Ambedkar expressed his resentment as everything in the Hindu society centered around caste. Everything was caste bound and caste centered. It determined one's status, position in the society. Efficiency and merit were sacrificed at the altar of the caste. He observed, the caste has made public opinion impossible. To a Hindu, public opinion is his caste. His responsibility is only to his caste. His loyalty is restricted to his caste. Virtue has become caste ridden. Morality has become caste bound. There is no sympathy for the deserving. There is no appreciation of the meritorious. Considering Hinduism as nothing but Brahmanism and treating it as a false religion, Ambedkar said, the religion which regards the recognition of man's self-respect as sin is not a religion but a sickness. The religion which allows me to touch a foul animal but not a man is not religion but madness. The religion which says that one class may not acquire wealth, may not take up arms is not a religion but a mockery of man's life. The religion which teaches that the learned should remain unlearned, that the poor should remain poor is not a religion but a punishment. Ambedkar did his best to bring about reforms in Hinduism so that it could be more and more acceptable to more and more number of people, including untouchables and Dalits. Because of oppression and suppression, the latter had a strong hatred against the religion and its protectors. He therefore tried to persuade them to take care of the Dalits and untouchables by allowing them to use public places. But unfortunately, all his efforts to give a new image to Hinduism ended in dismal failure. Overtaken by frustration and disappointment, he gave up Hinduism and, as said earlier, became a Buddhist. Because Buddhism opposed Brahmanism and ensured dignity, justice, status, equality and liberty to one and all, and also professed its faith in non-violence and compassion. He asked his followers and friends to change their religion, Hinduism, and accept any other that would give them equality and dignity, space and status in the social system. He felt it was his sheer misfortune that he was born as a Hindu. Religion is necessary in Hindu society. The role of religion has pervaded all aspects of man's life. It is essential for man. To Dr. Ambedkar, religion was necessary in life and he did not agree with those, especially the Marxist thinkers who rejected it. Then there arises a question of, does Ambedkar subscribe to the view that religion is reactionary and there is no necessity of its in human life? Not at all. As he said, some people think that religion is not essential to society. I do not hold this view. I considered the foundation of religion to be essential to the life and practice of society. Dr. Ambedkar did not agree with Karl Marx and other Marxist thinkers that religion had no importance in human life. He observed man cannot live by bread alone. He has a mind which needs food for thought. Religion instills hope in man and drive him to activity. It is a different matter that he criticized and rejected Hinduism as a religion, but religion had a role to play in human life which can hardly be overlooked by mankind. Dr. Ambedkar was well convinced that religion is not only developing a good character but also molded the structural aspects of human society. Why did Ambedkar consider religion to be a necessary part of human life? Because religion is primarily a valuing attitude, universalizing the will and emotions rather than the ideas of man. Ambedkar did not agree with those who believe that religion arose in magic. Ambedkar emphasized on the necessity of religion as a social base. In the absence of social life, there is no need of any religion, and religion has to play social life. A religion is social in the sense that is primarily concerned with the society and not with the individual. Ambedkar's interpretation of Hindu philosophy of religion. In Ambedkar's interpretation, the Hindu philosophy served neither social unity nor justice for the individual. But he began his critique of Hinduism saying that the Hindu was not prepared to face inquiry. He either argues that religion is no importance, or he takes shelter behind the view fostered by the study of comparative religion that all religions are good. Ambedkar said both these views were mistaken and untenable. Firstly, religion was social force. Those who denied the importance of religion failed to realize how great was the potency and sanction that lay behind a religious ideal as compared with purely secular ideal. A religious ideal had a hold on mankind which transcended considerations of earthly gain. This could not be said as a purely secular ideal. Therefore, to ignore religion was to ignore a live wire. Secondly, to argue that all religions were good was, according to Ambedkar, a false notion. Everything depended upon what social ideas a given religion held out as a divine scheme of governance. Caste and Hindu religion. Caste is an essential feature if Hindu religion, according to Ambedkar, the Hindu religion as contained in the Vedas and Smritis is nothing but a mass of sacrificial, social, political and sanitary rules of regulations all mixed up. What is called religion by Hindus is nothing but a multitude of commands and prohibitions. Religion in the sense of spiritual principles, truly universal, applicable to all races, to all countries, to all times, is not to be found in them. And if it is, it does not form the governing part of the Hindu's life. What the Hindus call religion is really law, or at best legalized class ethics. The first evil of such a code of ordinances misrepresented to the people as religion is that it tends to deprive moral life of freedom and spontaneity and to reduce it to a more or less anxious and servile conformity to externally imposed rules. Under it, there is no loyalty to ideas, there is only conformity to commands. And the most objectionable part of such a scheme is that this code has been invested with character of finality and fixity. Ambedkar's philosophy on religion. Ambedkar opined that religion could not be eliminated or was necessary. He wrote, "While I condemn a religion of rules, I must not understand to hold the opinion that there is no necessity for a religion." Ambedkar opined that religion could not be eliminated or was necessary. He wrote, "While I condemn a religion of rules, I must not be understood to hold the opinion that there is no necessity for a religion." On the contrary, I agree with Burke when he says that true religion is the foundation of society, the basis on which all true civil government rests, and both their sanctions. Consequently, when I urge that these ancient rules of life be annulled, I am anxious that its place shall be taken by a religion of principles, which alone can lay claim to being a true religion. Ambedkar interpreted the basic tenets of the religions from the Dalit viewpoint of prevailing socio-cultural situation in India. He saw religion not as a means to spiritual salvation of individual souls, but as a social doctrine for establishing the righteous relations between man and man. A Dalit point of view, Ambedkar's philosophy of religion rests on the following premises: that religion is necessary for man and society to manage the secular and moral affairs of mankind, but to hold the views that all religion are equally true and good is to cherish a wrong belief. That religion wishes to develop the social system of their own choice to bring man together in the peace for progress, but to bestow a divine governance over them is to prevent the growth of an open society. That all religions develop some sort of prayers and pilgrimage, rituals, ceremonies as religious duties for men, simply being certain appendages to a religion, but the most integral part of a religion is the morality it professes for the welfare of mankind. That the center of religion is a man, the base is morality, the aim is the secular welfare of mankind, and the means is the righteous conduct embodied in social responsibility that all human beings owe towards their fellow beings living in human society. That the test of justice and utility must be applied to judge the relevance of a religion, and that consists the trinity ideal of liberty, equality and fraternity to effect the necessary changes in its social norms of cruel and tyrannical nature. Dr.B.R.Ambedkar's role in women empowerment. At All India Depressed Classes Women's Conference held at Nagpur on 20th July 1940, Dr. Ambedkar emphasized that there could not be any progress without women. He spoke, "I am a great believer in women's organization. I know that what they can do to improve the condition of the society if they are convinced. They should educate their children and instill high ambition in them." Further, he quotes that, "I measure the progress of a community by degree of progress which women have achieved." In ancient India, women enjoyed a very high position, but gradually their position degenerated into merely objects of pleasure meant to serve certain purpose. They lost their individual identity and even their basic human rights. Empowerment is multifaceted, multidimensional and multi-layered concept. Women empowerment is a process in which women gain greater share of control over resources, material, human and information, ideas and financial resources like money and access to money, and control over decision making in the home, community, society and nation, and to gain power. According to the country report of Government of India, empowerment means moving from a position of enforced powerlessness to one of power. But from time immemorial, the women in this land of ours were treated as a sort of things Her placing in the society was not at par with other human beings. She has no rights. She cannot move nor do anything at her will. In Hindu Shastras, she has been branded just like animals or some objects of enjoyment. From the verses of Ramayana as written by Tulsidas, Dol, Ganwar, Shudra, Pashu, Nari, Ye Sab Thedan Ke Adhikari, in Manusmriti, the ancient Hindu code book, the status granted to women is quite visible, and she was put to the lowest rank of humanity as she was treated as par with animals and slave by the properties of Hindu Dharma. Such was the placement earmarked to our mothers, sisters, and even great grandmothers that humanity was ashamed of. That is why Dr. Ambedkar, the father and architect of Indian Constitution, was of the firm opinion that until and unless we defy the Hindu Dharma Shastras, nothing much can be changed. In the name of Sankaras, the Hindu women are tied to bondages of superstitions which they carry till their death. They are also responsible for inculcating certain wrong notions learned through baseless traditions and preaching of the Shastras in the budding minds of the offspring. Dr. Ambedkar towards the empowerment of Indian women. The operation of caste, both at the systemic level and at the functioning of patriarchy, the groaning caste, the class divide in feminist political discourses makes Ambedkar's view on women's oppression, social democracy, caste and Hindu social order and philosophy significant to modern Indian feminist thinking. Although Ambedkar proved himself to be a genius and was known as a great thinker, philosopher, revolutionary, jurist, par excellence, prolific writer, social activist and critic, and strode like a closer in the Indian socio-political scene unto his death. His thoughts never received adequate attention in morality of Indian society just because he was born as an untouchable. However, the contemporary social realities warrant close examination of the wide range of his topics, the width of his vision, the depth of his analysis, and the rationality of his outlook, and the essential humanity of his suggestions for practical action. Hence, for Indian women's movement, Ambedkar provides a powerful source of inspiration to formulate a feminist political agenda which simultaneously addresses the issues of class, caste and gender in the contemporary socio-political setup, which still keeps conservative and reactionary values in many respects, particularly on gender relations. The writings and speeches of Ambedkar show what values India should develop and how they should modernize its social and political institutions. Ambedkar saw women as the victims of the oppressive, caste-based and rigid hierarchical social system. B.R. Ambedkar, the champion of women's rights. Dr. Ambedkar championed the cause of women as well as the miserable plight of the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes throughout his career. He discussed a number of problems of Indian women and sought for their solutions in Bombay Legislative Council, in the Viceroy's Assembly as the chairman of the drafting committee, and also in the Parliament as the first law minister of independent India. His arguments on the maternity benefits bill and on birth critical were quite relevant to recognize the dignity of women. He vehemently supported the maternity bill. His arguments was, it is in the interest of the nation that the mother ought to get a certain amount of the rest during the prenatal period and also subsequently, and the principles of the bill is based entirely on the principle. In the Magad Satyagraha for the temple entry in 1927, even caste Hindus participated. Sandhabai Shinde was one such participant. In the Satyagraha, it was decided to burn the Manusmriti, which humiliated women and Shudras. In the demonstration, after the bonfire of Manusmriti, more than 50 women participated. Ambedkar addressed the meeting thereafter and advised women to change their style of wearing saris, wear lightweight ornaments, not to eat meat of dead animals. It was upper caste women like Tipnis who taught them proper way of wearing saris. When Ambedkar returned to India after attending the Round Table Conference in 1932, hundreds of women were present for committee meeting. Since Ambedkar was well convinced about the status of women, as chairman of the drafting committee, he tried and adequate inclusion of women's rights in the political vocabulary and Constitution of India. Therefore, by considering women's equality both in formal and substantial senses, he included special provisions for women while all other general provisions are applicable to them as to men constitutional provisions. Hence, there are articles like 15(3), 51(a) and so on. His key work in the preparation of Indian Constitution made it to be known as a new charter of human rights. He looked upon law as the instrument of creating a sane social order in which the development of individuals should be in harmony with the growth of society. Dear students, in this lesson, we have discussed elaborately on Ambedkar's views on religion, its character, caste system and the inequalities, alternate solution to eradicate caste system formed through Hinduism. And also we have discussed the earlier efforts made by Dr.B.R.Ambedkar on the development of women and how he made it real through the constitutional provisions later. Thank you.